stuff. And that was a part, like actually attribute Boys in the Hood as a part of what helped me get out of the cult, because it's that like those little drips of, oh, wow, there's a whole world out there. And people are going through so many different things. And it's not all just about my little 180 acres in Southern.
You're listening to the First Class Life Show, hosted by Lindsey Vertner, a holistic personal development show for high-achieving leaders who desire to maximize their impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So grab a drink, grab your notebook, and let's get started. Hey, 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 First Class family. Welcome back to another episode of the First Class Life Show. I am your host, Lindsey Vertner, mindset expert extraordinaire. And we are back with another phenomenal guest. I've had the opportunity to chat with her a few times over the past few weeks, and I just love her spirit. I know y'all are going to love her too. Her name is Arin Fugate. Hey, Arin.
Hey, everyone. Hi, Lindsey.
So glad to have you here. Now, y'all know how we do on the First Class Life Show. We like to just hop right into the conversation. You can read all about her in the description and the show notes, but of course, she's going to share a little bit about herself because we know that you are out there maximizing your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So we appreciate you for being here with us, and let's hop into this discussion, okay? So Miss Arin, I've had the opportunity to speak with you, but I want you to share with the First Class family, like, who is Arin really? Like, tell us who you are, girlfriend. Peel back the layers, peel back the curtains, and give us the good tea.
Yes, let's do it. So I was just on a podcast yesterday where I dished all the juicy stuff. So I'm in that mode. I am ready. I was born in Idaho, so an Idaho potato spud, to parents. Have you heard that before? The potatoes, the Idaho potatoes. Mm-hmm. My parents were hippies, like kind of chic, cool hippies. Like they wore cowboy boots and cowboy hats, but they didn't ride horses. In the 70s, which also meant they were drug users. And I grew up with a heroin addict father and a mom who, did a bunch of drugs. And it was a really, really intense life. My dad got clean for the first time when I was 4 years old. And my mom continued to use until I was 9. And then she kind of did the craziest thing. She stopped using drugs and she had a spiritual awakening. Mm-hmm. And that ended us up in a cult. So I grew up in a cult, a spiritual cult. I don't know, y'all, you might not know this, but you want the real deal. In Southern Oregon.
Yeah, we like it. 17, like we jumping right in. Thank you.
We're gonna do it. If you allow me to do it, I love to go there because you can rise up from anything. So yeah, I was raised on a 180-acre ranch in Southern Oregon. I did not go to school. My parents were divorced, and I didn't have a lot of friends. I was pretty isolated. And when I was 21 years old, I kind of woke up and went, these people are crazy, and I don't want to live here anymore. But at that point, I had no education. I had no life skills. Like I didn't know that people lied. I was super, super innocent to the ways of the world. And when I would have conversations with people and they would like bring up historic events or politics, I had no idea what they were talking about. So I got my GED at 21. I took the SATs and I got into college. And I did 2 years of college, and then I fell into a domestic violence relationship. And it completely ruined my life. I picked up drugs. I dropped out of school. And I lived the crazy party lifestyle in Los Angeles, California for about 8 years, until I woke up one day and I was in my early 30s. My health was falling apart. I was homeless, living out of my car, ending up on my mom's doorstep, like, please take me in. No money, no career. And I went, or a voice said, Arin, is this what you want your life to be?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's not what I want my life to be. I want to inspire people. I want to lift up the world. I want to be a mom. I want to get married. I want to be happy. I want to be healthy. And in that moment, I went, well, then you have to stop. You have to change. And so that's a whole nother story, but that's kind of where I come from and how I'm here today.
Listen, Arin girl, I'm already like, we're going to have to do a part 2 or something. I can feel it. You hit on so much already. It's like, ooh, which onion do we want to pluck at right now? But the one that stands out the most, because you just brazed over that, like, you grew up in a cult. Like, we're going to get to all the other things, but in a cult. Okay. So tell us about that. Like, what was that experience like, especially with what you've been able to accomplish, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Like, y'all, let me just let you know, like, she has a family now. She has a multi-six-figure business. Like, she's been able to build all of that from the brief summary that you just heard. And so I'm pretty sure that this whole episode is going to be about turning your obstacles into your triumph, turning your pain into your purpose, all of those good things. Like, it doesn't matter what you go through. You have the ability to change your lifestyle, the life that you're living. You have the ability to create a first-class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So, okay. I just had to put that out there for the first-class family. But tell us about this. So you moved to the cult when you were 9 years old, around that time. That's right. So what was that like growing up in a cult environment?
Well, I'm going to tell you the good things and the bad things, because I really believe, like, I wouldn't, if I went back in time and somebody said, you could choose to not grow up this way, I would still choose to grow up that way because it made me who I am. And even though it was painful, I've grown so much from it. So the good things were, I was given a deep sense of connection to God. It's in my bones. Even though I've gone through phases in my life where I was mad at God, or I was like, maybe I'm an atheist, I could never get it out of my bones. Like, I've touched the divine, and I know what that is. So that was a great blessing. Not having a formal education was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because I became a avid reader. It's the only way I learned, was to read. And now I know that if there's something I don't know, I can go pick up a book or YouTube or find a mentor, and I can learn it. And I don't have any doubt about that. The third thing that was fabulous about where I grew up is it was in nature. So I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't go to school, but I had the forest and I had animals. So I grew up, we had a herd of goats, and I would take the goats on a hike. I mean, like, talk about, I don't know, Heidi or something, like Sound of the Music. And so I have this deep connection with nature. Nature heals me. Nature is where I go to connect to God. Those were the beautiful things about growing up there. The negative things were, unfortunately, the person who started the spiritual movement, which at first it started very beautiful, she became corrupt. And I think she had some of her own mental illness, and she was a drug addict and very, very emotionally abusive. So I'm only now coming to terms with the things that actually happened to me. And I was essentially, like, put to work at a very young age. So my days were cleaning her house and taking care of the animals and taking care of the other kids. And I don't think that's right for a 9-year-old. The isolation was horrible. I just wanted real friends. I wanted to go to prom. I wanted to have a boyfriend, and none of that, right? Just so isolated. There's a fine line between a spiritual community and a cult. And it's so interesting because if you look at religion, many of them started out as what would now be defined as a cult.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets to a point where it's a recognized religion. So that line is so thin.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of compassion for spiritual leaders because I think being a spiritual leader and being that doorway to God or the divine, you have to have your ego in check and you have to make sure that you're on purpose. And I've carried that with me because I don't consider myself a spiritual leader, but I consider myself a leader. Mm-hmm. And I am in a position now where I guide people along their journey. And because I watched the corruption that could happen, I kind of know how to keep myself on the right path and to walk that line.
Yeah. So you mentioned about you had to clean and take care of the goats and raise the other children. Because I was going to ask, like, what did a typical day look like growing up in a cult? But it sounds like that's what your day was filled with: cleaning, taking care of animals, taking care of kids.
Nope. Pretty much. Yeah. And I would run off to the forest when I had a chance. Luckily, we had horses and cows and goats and dogs and cats. And that was really my place that I found peace, was with the animals.
So were you very isolated from the outside world? Because I know you mentioned like you didn't know that people actually lied. Were there TVs? Did they let you go outside of, I'm assuming, the compound or wherever that area was, the ranch?
So I was allowed to go out a little bit, like we were about 45 minutes out from the grocery store. So if I could go to the grocery store, it was like the coolest thing ever, right? And I would just be like, wow, look at these people and what are they doing and what's their life like? And then sometimes I would be allowed to go hang out with an approved friend. They definitely would pick and choose who I could hang out with. So sometimes I got to go hang out with friends. But the separation was filled with fear. So they really believed that if I was in school that I would be corrupted. And the spiritual goal in this cult was enlightenment and to actually ascend and go back to God. So they believed that the more you could be removed from social conditioning, the easier it would be for you to remember your way back to God. So they were really careful about what I was allowed. And there was a fear that if I had gone to high school, I would have become promiscuous. And that was a really big focus as well, keeping me pure.
Do you want to be surrounded by other high-achieving women who are working on their goals just like you? Are you looking for your circle that's passionate about their own growth yet still wants to see you shine? Do you desire to be supported through collaborations and connections instead of competition? Then Cowork and Chill is your place to be. Cowork and Chill is a hybrid of virtual co-working and virtual networking. It's a community of women who are striving to build living legacies. This is the space to create meaningful relationships with other equally yoked women where you're being poured into just as much as you pour out. So if you're looking for your crew for supportive accountability, then sign up today at coworkandchill.com. That's COWORKANDCHILL, coworkandchill.com.
So you mentioned promiscuity, and I recognize, I didn't hear you mention sexual abuse throughout that, but I also heard you say that the leader was female. So I'm wondering if that played into that, because, we hear about codes, there's documentaries. I think there's even a new one that just aired sometime in the past few months on Netflix. It's on my to watch list, but I haven't gotten to it yet. and you hear a lot about, them trying to breed with the young girls girls and sexual abuse and the girls not recognizing that it was sexual abuse because they grew up in this clustered community, this very confined space. And so I noticed that you didn't mention that for you, but that also the organizer was female. So that you could recognize, were there any sexual mishandlings going on within your cult or no?
Yeah, so for me personally, there wasn't direct sexual abuse, but there was sexual control. Mm-hmm. So I was kept a virgin to be used in ceremonies. And it was very clear that, like, if I lost my virginity at a time that they didn't ordain, mm-hmm. that I would just not really, it wasn't just I would be bad. It's like I would ruin things for the whole community. Mm. I have heard about other sexual abuse, but mostly physical abuse and drug abuse among other people in the organization. But I haven't heard about, that classic thing that you hear with kids. Mm-hmm. It was much more the mental. Now that I know, like, I've been in therapy and I started to learn all about this, I'm pretty sure that the leader was a narcissist, possibly even a psychopath. Mm-hmm. And she did a lot of crazy things to people, which I'm only starting to uncover now, because in some ways I was protected from all of that because they wanted me innocent. Mm-hmm. That was their goal. So it was only once I became older and I started to talk to other members that had also left, and they began to tell me their stories, where I was like, wow, I had no idea that was going on. Mm-hmm. It's really sad. It's really, really sad because this happens more than we realize. Mm-hmm. And I do love watching the documentaries about the cults that are out there. I think there's the one you're talking about, also happened in Oregon. It's not the one I was in. And then there's the Swan Teal documentary that came out recently. And what's interesting about hers is she's leading a cult and she doesn't know it. And that's what I mean about that fine line.
Yeah.
So watching her documentary is really curious because you're like, oh, wow, she has no idea what she's doing.
It's so crazy. So you mentioned you could go to Walmart. You had some approved friends, and I'm assuming these friends were outside of the cult that you could sometimes spend time with, or were they inside of the cult?
It had to be inside of the cult. I remember one time a boy asked me out on a date, and I had to get approval. And because he was a part of a different religion, they said no.
Gotcha. So I say all that to say, because you mentioned like wanting to go to prom and things like that, but you didn't have the traditional educational upbringing inside the cult. So I was wondering if it was that time before you were in the cult that you were able to pick up on some of those things, because you didn't get into the cult until you were 9. And so just where you found out about prom or the other world.
So I was allowed to watch movies.
Okay, got it.
And they had to be, so I remember this one time I watched Boys in the Hood. And I got in so much trouble. Because I watched that movie and I kind of like had to talk to somebody. I was like, like, what is, like, this is really happening? This is like real? And they were like, why did you watch that? Like, that is not okay. You cannot watch that kind of stuff. And that was a part, like, actually attribute Boys in the Hood as a part of what helped me get out of the cult, because it's that like those little drips of, oh, wow, there's a whole world out there. And people are going through so many different things. And it's not all just about my little 180 acres in Southern.
That is so crazy. That's definitely a classic in the Black community, okay?
Such a good movie. And I don't know even how I stumbled upon it. But it definitely then started a whole love of Black culture and hip hop. I'm now married to, he's a white rapper, but my husband is like in love with hip hop to just an extreme. And yeah, I really honor your culture and what it's done for me as far as inspiration.
Thank you. So speaking of that Uh-oh. Speaking of that inspiration, you mentioned Boys in the Hood was kind of like the catalyst. And do you remember about how old you were when you watched that movie?
15.
15. And then you got out of the cult at 21. So tell us about that journey from the time you watched Boys in the Hood to starting to just slowly collect all the puzzle pieces that led you to the puzzle of, wait, this is not where I want to be and I need to leave this place.
Yes. Okay. So I watched Boys in the Hood, and part of the reason I watched Boys in the Hood is I did get a boyfriend at 15. And he was not in our cult, but his dad was our Aikido instructor.
Mm-hmm.
So I was allowed to date him, kind of, because of that connection. He was half Black, half Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
And so he is the reason that I got exposed to Boys in the Hood. And I think he gave me like the Snoop Dogg CD. and he was Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
So he also started exposing me to what other religions believe, because I'd never explored other religions.
Mm-hmm.
The cult was very focused in like neo-spirituality, some Hinduism and Buddhism, meditation, yoga thrown in there, but not a really specific religion. And so we fell like madly in love, like the 15-year-old. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Like, we were just like, whoa.
I'm in love.
So in love. He just made me like totally giggly. And they made me break up with him. They were like, no, you can't. Not this. And that was really, really painful. And I think it started me questioning, like, what are they about here? Like, why don't they want me to be happy? Mm-hmm. And from that point until right before my 17th birthday, I just started to ask questions and become rebellious and kind of push back. I am by nature a very strong and opinionated woman, and it just started to come out of me as I was getting older. So they actually kicked me out when I was almost 17 years old, and they put me on a plane and sent me to Hawaii and put me up in an apartment and paid my rent for 6 months. And they were like, go get this out of your system.
Oh, okay.
Which is a very common tactic. If you've ever watched the movie Devil's Playground, this is about the Amish, and they do the same thing with their kids. They kick them out at 16, and then they say, like, don't come back until you're 100% back. So I stayed out for just almost 2 years, and then I came back. And I came back because the world was so painful, especially not having any skills. It's like I was thrown into the world and I had to get a job. And that's where I learned that people lied. And I had a lot of scary things happen in those 2 years because I was just uneducated and unsocialized, and I trusted everybody. And so I kind of came running back like, oh, I want to be safe again. Like, I want to be home where I know everything. And I had changed too much. And I tried to kind of fit in again, and it didn't work. And at age 21, I had a big fight with the leader, and I just was like, I'm out of here. I can't do this. And so then I had to get my mom out, which was really hard. I did eventually get her out. So that's kind of the story of how I left. And I still live in the same town, which is crazy because I will see people and it's really intense. And a lot of people don't know like how bad this group actually is.
Mm-hmm. So you just mentioned your mom. Arin, girl, I have so many questions. You just mentioned your mom. Was it a struggle to get her out? So wait, before I get to that part, I want to kind of circle back. Your mom and dad, they got divorced. So did they get divorced before you went to the cult, or did that come after and he was in the cult with you guys?
They got divorced when I was 2 years old.
Okay.
So he was never okay with where we were living, but because he was a drug addict in recovery, he never had like any legal power to do anything. He tried, but the leaders of the cult had more money and more lawyers, and so they kind of squashed his ability.
Got it. So I know that he got clean when you were 4. Were you able to see him from when you were 4 to 9?
Yeah, I would see him on the summers. It would kind of be sporadic because the recovery journey includes relapse. And so he got clean for the first time when I was 4, but it took him probably another 20 years before he finally got clean. So there was a lot of, I'm here, I'm available. He lived in San Jose, so I'd like go to San Jose for the summer. And then there would be years where he was using, so then I wouldn't see him.
Got it. So were you able to see him as like if he were clean while you were in the cult, even though he wasn't a member and everything? Were you
Yes,
still
he
able
kind of had to honor that because he did have some custody rights. If he wanted to have me, I think the agreement was he could have me in the summer if he wanted to.
Okay, got it.
That was weird because I remember a summer I went to live with him and he put me in middle school for like 3 months. And it was this mixture of like, this is so cool and oh my God, what's going on here?
Okay, got it. So back with your mom, how was that journey in getting her out? Like, was she really against like leaving the cult and you had to work with her, or was she already kind of in that space where it's like, if I have the opportunity, I'm going to leave?
Yeah, I think she was recognizing that the leader was abusive, but she was also so deeply connected to her spiritual journey. And one of the things that made this situation interesting or different is there was the leader, but she was a channel. Have you ever heard of channeling? So it meant that there was a spirit that would speak through her body. And the spirit was the one that everybody worshiped. So for my mom, it was like this woman who kind of stands between me and my spiritual guide is the corrupt one. And I need to get away from her. But I still love this guru or this God. And so that was the challenge for her. She recognized that she had to leave, but it was extremely painful.
Okay. Got it. Ooh, Arin girl. I wasn't expecting all this.
Write a book. Like, it is on my bucket list.
Yes, get on it, okay? Because we are on the edge of our seats. I know the First Class family will agree. So we're going to take a little pause and play a little game. Is that all right with you?
Are you loving the First Class Live show? Then join our private Patreon community. Not only will you help to support our ability to provide you with great content, but you can also get exclusive perks like bonus videos and resources, discounts, episode transcripts, and more. So what are you waiting for? Join today at patreon.com/First Class Life. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/First Class Life.
Let's do it.
Let me pull up my timer here. Okay, so this game is called First Class Favorites, all right? So it's really, really easy to play, and all you have to do is fill in the blank. I'll say, what is your favorite ... And you fill in the blank. Easy peasy, right? Yep. Now, the only kicker is you have 10 seconds to answer.
Okay, got it.
So if you miss the buzzer, what is the consequence if you miss the buzzer? So the consequence for the First Class family, you get to pick whatever that is. And depending on the perspective, whatever you say, it might be positive, it might be negative. It all depends on who's listening, right? So for example, consequences in the past have been a shot of liquor. So for some, that's a reward. For others, that is a punishment. It might be compliment someone you don't like, or it might be run a lap outside or do a push-up. Like for me, doing a push-up would be a punishment. For some, that's like, yeah, let's do another push-up. So you get to pick whatever the consequence is. What do you think you want that to be?
Yeah, I'll do a burpee because those are not fun.
Okay. All right, don't miss these buzzers. Okay, girl. All right, first class family, you heard it. If Arin misses the buzzer on any of these questions, you have to do a whole entire burpee. If you don't know what a burpee is, YouTube it, okay? It's an exercise. All right, so we'll start with something easy. What is your favorite color? Go.
Orange.
Okay. See, nice and easy. Why is orange?
It just makes me like bright and happy and inspired. I love it.
Okay. So what is your favorite food? Go.
Pizza, 100%.
Look, I knew we connected. I could eat pizza all the time as long as it's coming from different places.
You know, like pasta and pizza or zucchini with spaghetti sauce on it and cheese.
Yes. You change up the variety and the flavors. What is your favorite book? Go. The title and author.
Okay, Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley.
Oh, what's that about?
Super good. It's the story of King Arthur told from the women's point of view.
Okay. What is your favorite song, specifically title and author? Go.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to choose this one. Okay, you know what it is? It's kind of silly. It's Cowboy Take Me Away by the Dixie Chicks.
Okay, you made it right in the buzzer. You made it. Cowboy Take Me Away by the Dixie Chicks.
Yeah, so good.
They were the ones that got in trouble, like politically, some years back, right? What is your favorite drink? Can't say water. Go.
Coffee, 100%.
Do you like it straight black?
Well, I like it with like cream and honey, but I don't let myself do that. So I have it with something called a nut pod, which is a nut-based creamer. So no dairy, no sugar. But yes, I would prefer if it had all like the sweet and the milk. My body doesn't like that.
I can never really do coffee because mine was more like cream and sugar with a splash of coffee. Like once I'm adding all this stuff in. Plus, I always still felt tired, except I was just jittery. I'm still yawning, so like, what's that point? So I never really was a coffee person. What is your favorite activity to do to relax? I think I know the answer to this one. Go.
To relax. It's a toss-up between like a spa day, like sauna, hot tub, and yoga class. Kind of depends on what you're doing.
I was gonna guess like walking in nature or something.
I do love that too, but if I really want to relax, like give me a sauna and a hot tub.
What is your favorite place to travel to specifically? Go.
Maui, Hawaii, 100%. That's where I live.
You got kicked out to?
I love the island so much.
Nice. I have not been to Hawaii yet. As much as I travel, I have not been to Hawaii. Every time it even is considered, like something else pops up that trumps it. So I haven't gotten there yet. So when I finally get there, I'm going to be calling you up like, Arin girl, what's all the tips? Where's the places I need to go? Okay. Let's do one or two more. What is your favorite season of the year and why? Go.
I think it's spring. I just love all the flowers and the sun coming out. So yeah, definitely spring.
Nice. Now this one, it might be a little bit tougher. What is your favorite quote? Go.
Oh my gosh. Okay, don't know who said it though.
That's fine.
Okay, it is, I am a spiritual being having a human experience.
Oh, I am a spiritual being having a human experience. Nice. I'm sure we could Google that. Let's see what Google says. Who said, I am a spiritual being having a human experience?
If any of the listeners can guess.
Human experience. Most of us have heard these words from the French philosopher Pierre Teilhard de Chardin.
Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. And I feel like that was really harsh because if he's French, I feel like that's a very smooth and flowing Pierre Tilla de Chardin. Like something like
And the
that.
quote probably sounds better in French.
Right? So thank you for playing First Class Favorite Things with us. You are actually joining our highly curated list by all of the phenomenal guests. So if you're new to the First Class Life Show, we have our private Patreon community where you can get access to our First Class Favorite Things list. It has a reading list with all of the books by our phenomenal guests. It has a song playlist. So if you're not a reader, that's okay. We got the music for you. And we're all about self-care. So it has all our favorite places to travel. So you can get your travel on and relaxing activities that we like to do. So we like to be cultured while prioritizing our self-care. Okay. So you can get access to that list and a lot more bonuses at our Patreon community. Just click the link in the notes and join today. And you'll get some bonus goodies from the beautiful Arin. All right. So let's get back into this discussion. We done already covered so much. Now you mentioned about being in the cult and getting out of the cult. I know that your parents were addicts to a various amount of drugs. And then you mentioned like once you were able to get out of the cult at 21, that you became a part of a domestic violent situation, a relationship there, and you also started using drugs as well. So tell us a little bit about that journey, what it looked like for you.
So I had always promised myself I would never do drugs. I was like, I don't want to be my parents. Absolutely not. And I had grown up meditating. So I really understood that you could reach higher consciousness through meditation and your breath, and you didn't need drugs to do that. But falling into a domestic violence relationship, and this is really common when you grow up in a traumatic home or a dysfunctional home, you often then are attracted to people who help you recreate the trauma because it's what you know. So now that I've learned all of that, it's not surprising to me. But at the time, it completely shocked me. I would never have expected in a million years that I would end up in a relationship with a man who would beat me. And so he was like the perfect guy. Everybody thought he was amazing, on his best behavior for 3 months of dating. And it wasn't until we really started to get into the relationship that he then started being violent. Mm-hmm. And so I was one of the lucky ones that got out. A lot of people don't get out. A lot of people get out and go back, but I got out. And after that happened, I felt like God had wronged me. I had had such a close relationship with God growing up, and I was so protected that when that happened, I was like, how could you let this happen to me? And that was my big qualm. Like, no God that is loving would let their child have this happen. And so that kind of blew out all my beliefs of not doing drugs and using meditation. And I just thought, what's the point? I don't care if I live or die. Mm-hmm. And so when I was introduced to drugs, it was a welcomed escape. And in a community of drug users, I found other damaged people. So I didn't feel as outcast as I did with what I call normies, right? So because I didn't feel connected to the rest of society because I wasn't. And so when I found a group of, they were artists and they were creatives, they were living in LA, like doing things that I thought were cool at the time. And the bonding was drug use. Mm-hmm. And it was not a problem for the first couple of years, but then it became a problem, which is what happens with drugs. And I just really reached my bottom, having the combination of didn't have a place to live. I was having so many health issues, like I was having dental issues and weird rashes all over my body and aches and pains. I just went, is this what I want my life to be? Like, you get to make a choice. I truly believe that. You get to make a choice. If you want to change your life, there's things that you can do to change your life. And I had some amount of conviction. I have no idea where it came from, but I felt like there was something more for me. And so I returned to what I knew, which was yoga and meditation. And I started going to yoga every day. I had a yoga studio where I was living. I would show up every day, even though I was still using. I told myself, like, you can do whatever you want. Like, you still want to go out and party, fine, but you show up on that yoga mat every day. And they did not judge me. The teacher was very like open and accepting. And I would show up on the yoga mat. I would sweat it out. I would cry. And in this one particular session, when they did Shavasana, Shavasana is called the corpse pose. So it's the end of your yoga practice. You lay down flat on your mat, you close your eyes, and the concept in yogic philosophy is you let yourself die. And it's the idea of being reborn. Like, what if we could be reborn every day? And so as I'm laying there in Shavasana, I had this like overwhelming feeling of love and acceptance. Like, what if I could open my eyes and all my wrongs were forgiven and all my pain was washed away and I could actually start this life anew? And in that space, I prayed. And it was the first time I had prayed since I left the cult. And I just said, I don't know who's out there. I don't know if you're real, but like, I need a sign. I need guidance, and tell me, what should I do? If I'm going to choose this life, and if I'm going to wake up in this moment, what should I do? Because I have to be of service. I have to do something that's worthwhile. And a voice came to me and said, Arin, you have to teach. And I was like, you're crazy. Because what do I have to teach? I'm uneducated. I don't have a job. I'm a drug addict. I've messed up everything in my life. I don't have anything to teach. But because of my spiritual upbringing, I knew that if you pray and you hear an answer, you better listen. Like, not everybody gets the answer. And so I just said, okay, well, if that's what I'm supposed to do, then you're going to show me the signs. And all I have to do is like get up off this mat and walk out this door. And literally a week later, a man walked up to me in the yoga studio and he said, have you ever heard of essential oils? He's like, I think, you and your mom really like essential oils. And we did. We were like hippies, we love that stuff. And he started to tell me about a company that was bringing the world's most pure, beautiful essential oils. And they were looking for, and this is his choice of word, was a God shot. He said, they're looking for educators. And I was like, And I was like, tell me more. And I just started to say yes. He told me what it was like and how I could make money and what was needed. And I just was like, yes. And God told me I was supposed to teach. You just told me I could have a job teaching. Like, let's go, let's do it. And so that just set me on this journey. I was now an entrepreneur, still a drug addict, teaching people about health and wellness, going to personal development conferences and trainings. And I just let it change me. And it did. It took a couple of years. I went through a lot of growth. I had to get over so many blocks around money and sales and leadership. And I, most importantly, had to heal my body. Mm-hmm. My body, my mind, it needed so much help. So I got into therapy. I got on medication for depression and anxiety. I got off the drugs. I started to heal my gut. I eventually got off the medication using natural remedies. And then I just went on to teach people what I had learned. So now I help people get healthy and kind of go through their own journey. And I think the thing about working with me is no matter what you've been through or what you've done or what you're doing, I've probably done worse. It's all good. There is a pathway to health and vitality, and you are okay and beautiful and perfect.
Man, I love that. And I want to make sure that I point out what I really heard you say when you were talking about, like, I was doing this, but I was still a drug addict. Because, especially with leaders, we often, fall into, oh, it has to be perfect before we can do this, or I have to be perfect before I can do that, or the situation has to be perfect before I can move towards this or that or whatever it is. And really, that is just the fear talking. That is, those limiting beliefs talking that's inside of us, because all you have to do is start. It doesn't matter what your past looks like. It doesn't matter what your current looks like. You just have to start. And once you start, it opens up the door and begins the path and the journey of where it is that you're trying to get to, where it is that your purpose to get to. And sometimes that path doesn't start unfolding until you start moving. So like, we often want the path to be fully cleared and laid out with a 101 manual, like take a left, take a right, take another right, walk 2 blocks, and then take another left. But it's like, sometimes it doesn't start to reveal itself until you take the first step in front of you. It doesn't matter what it looks like around you. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter how maybe the mistakes that you made or the flaws that you perceive yourself to have. You just have to start somewhere, and then things will start to fall into place. So I wanted to make sure that I pointed that nugget out, because that is so good. Because too often we are held back by the perfectionist or by the shame or the guilt. Like, there's no way I could be a teacher. I'm a drug addict. Or, there's no way I could start a business. I don't have any education. There's no way I could ... because I ... or I don't have ... And you just proved with your story that all of that doesn't matter. You just have to be willing to show up and do the work. You have to be open-minded to what that looks like. And you got to move. You got to take action.
Yeah.
Looking for amazing products to help boost your first-class lifestyle? Then head over to firstclasslifeshop.com, where you can treat yourself to personal development books and workbooks, lifestyle affirmation cards, adult coloring books, mugs, notebooks, hoodies, t-shirts, leggings, and more. All products were designed to help you master your mindset, walk in your purpose, and live your first-class life, because you deserve it. So treat yourself today at firstclasslifeshop.com. Again, that's firstclasslifeshop.com.
Exactly. And people are inspired by seeing you rise out of the ashes. So they don't want to see like the perfect, polished version of yourself. They want to see the humanity of who you are and what you're going through, because we are all struggling. Like, this life is the spectrum of beauty and pain and chaos, and we are all struggling with something. And so when you see someone who is being authentic and inspirational at the same time, like, that is intoxicating. They're going to be attracted to you like a magnet. They're going to be like, I want to hook on to what she's doing. And that's all I did, is I just was open about my journey. And I was like, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying, and I'm going to show it all to you. And you can, come along with me. I mean, if I could go back at the beginning of my business, I think I would be even more authentic and even more vulnerable, because it's what everyone craves. And I think the pandemic has really shown us that, right? We've seen a huge shift in marketing and social media, where it used to be like Instagram polished. And now you go onto TikTok and you see tons of people saying, I'm 300 pounds and I'm going to lose the weight. Follow me on my journey. Or I was a drug addict and now I'm clean. Follow me on my journey. It's what's real. So yeah, don't wait until it's perfect, because it's never going to be. There's always another skill to learn, and you're going to mess up a ton, but every time you mess up, you're going to learn something. I've fallen on my face so many times in business, and I just pick up the nuggets. I learn something from it, and I keep moving forward.
Yeah. Because listen, no matter who you are, life is always going life, okay? Life will keep lifing. No matter who
Like,
you are, no matter where you come from. So you gotta pick it up, take what you need to learn, and keep moving forward. So, oh my goodness, Arin, girl. I am so happy to have you here in the First Class Life Studios. And I know the First Class family is just eating it up, okay? So I want to ask you a very, very specific question because you are new to the First Class family, and living a first class life is all about the quality of life you are creating for yourself, that you're intentional about creating for yourself. And so, First Class Life is actually an acronym for those that are tuned in and may not be aware. And it stands for all of the different characteristics and skills that you want to embody into your lifestyle to be able to create a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness, and really maximize your impact. And so, if you want to find out what that acronym stands for and what everything is, then there's two ways you can do that. You can either go back and listen to the very first episode of the First Class Life Show, episode 1, where I explain in detail what each of those different factors are and how to implement them into your life. Or you can visit firstclasslifeshop.com and buy the book, okay? First Class Life, 10 Key Factors to Creating a Life Full of Purpose, Fulfillment, and Happiness. Meanwhile, we're going to ask the beautiful Arin, which key factor of first class life do you feel that you resonate with the most?
so this is kind of hard, and I've gone like back and forth a little bit, but what I am landing on is thankful. If I can drop into gratitude, I can change the way that I feel. If I can drop into gratitude, I can show up the way I want to show up. If I can drop into gratitude, I can actually appreciate everything I have in my life. It is the key to happiness for me, is having a grateful heart. So I'm going to say thankful.
Awesome. I love it. And for the record, it's okay to resonate with all of them because you want to try and embody as most as you can. So no, that was perfect. Thank you for sharing. Now, tell us, how do you impact the world as a leader today? I know you already mentioned that, you help people on their health and wellness journey, but tell us a little bit more about what that looks like. What do you do in your life as a leader?
So specifically, I love to help vision-led entrepreneurs like yourself gain optimal wellness. And what I mean by that is, if we want to be truly successful, we have to have the energy, the freedom of movement, the mood balance, the hormone balance, the glowing aura. We need all of that to fully step into your first class life. And so I love, love, love helping leaders just tweak some little thing. I work with aromatherapy, so essential oils are my jam. They are amazing. They're so good for stress management, meditation, but they also can be your medicine cabinet. So think of like an apothecary with all these little brown bottles. I teach people about no BS manifestation techniques. I love law of attraction, manifesting, intention setting, but I'm also a very realistic person and I love science. So I kind of combine the woo-woo with the science, and I teach you how to set goals that are magical and actually come true.
Nice. So can you share one or two of those techniques with us?
Yes. Okay, so my favorite technique when it comes to manifesting is to understand how your brain works. And you can really geek out on this, on brain science, but there are two things that I have learned that are extremely powerful. First of all, your brain does not think in negatives. So if you say, don't eat that cookie, your brain hears, eat that cookie. So true. It's so true. If we relate that to goal setting, if we say like, I want a job, but I don't want it to be this, and I don't want it to be this, and I don't want it to be this, you're actually manifesting all the things you don't want. So you have to train yourself to never speak. See, I just even did it then. To always speak in the positive, especially when you're setting your goals or your intentions. So if you want to have a 20K month, then your statement is, by the end of September 2022, I am so grateful and excited to cash or look in my bank account and see that $20,000 come in. So the second technique here with your brain is your brain is a problem solver. It loves problems. So that's why, like, sometimes we go to bed and it is anxiety brain, like munching on like, how I'm going to solve the problem. So the thing is, like, let's stop fighting the brain and instead let's give it a problem to solve that's beneficial to us. So the way this relates to manifesting in your goals is, say you want that 20K month. Ask your brain, why do I earn $20,000 or more? You always leave room for more on or before September 31st, 2023. And your brain will go to work for you. It's the coolest thing ever. It'll actually start showing you proof. And if you ask yourself that every single day, like put it on a Post-it note, put it on your mirror, you're brushing your teeth, you're like, why do I make $20,000 more? And your brain will be like, let me show you. And it's amazing. It works. And, you know, manifestation can be seen as like super woo-woo and way out there, but I am telling you, it's just brain science. It's just
Listen, Anger, we are two peas in a pod, okay? Because I'm all about bridging the spiritual and the science together and making it common and plain, because I believe in God as well. And, you know, God made science. He gave us these tools to help us navigate the world and walk in our purpose. And if you actually looked at history, like, there's a lot of overlap, just talking in different words. And a lot of people from history books that they thought, like, oh, they didn't believe in science. If you actually go back and look, they did science. They were scientists, but they had faith in God as well. So I am right with you. And I started laughing as soon as you say that, because, you know, I do trainings and that is one of the things. The mind can't avoid a don't. And so as soon as you said, don't eat that cookie. Yes, I love it. I love it. We are going to we're besties now, girlfriend. So get used to it. Okay. Now, thank you for sharing those techniques with us. How can people find you out here on these internet streets?
So the best place is my website. It's jasmineandjuniper.com. You can find, I've been blogging, lots of freebies for you. You can book a free wellness consult with me if you want to kind of see what I have to offer you. And then, of course, I'm on Instagram, Jasmine and Juniper Living, TikTok, Jasmine and Juniper. So if you search Jasmine and Juniper, that's my brand, my company name, you will find me in all the places.
Yes, yes, yes. So make sure you reach out to her. And don't worry, we have all those links in the show notes for you. So you can just click, click, click away. Definitely connect with the beautiful Arin. And so we want to thank you for coming on the First Class Life Show. Do you have any final words of advice on how the First Class family can create their first class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness?
I just want to say it again, in case there's anyone listening who's thinking, not me. No matter what you've been through, no matter what your circumstances, no matter how much pain is in your heart, if you have a calling placed inside of you, it is probably a divine calling. And you do not have to worry about how. You do not have to worry about if you're worth it. You just have to say yes. So let me lend you my confidence in you until you have the confidence in yourself. And then you can lend it to somebody else.
Yes, thank you. Again, make sure you guys connect with Arin Fugate of Jasmine and Juniper. You can reach her at all of the links on the side. And we just want to thank you, First Class family, for being here with us, because I know you can do anything in the world right now, but you have spent the past hour here chatting it up with us, and we appreciate you and do not take that lightly, okay? So we are here every week with another episode of the First Class Life Show, pouring into you so that you can continue to go out there and maximize your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. Why? Because you deserve it, okay? So embrace it. Until next time, bye.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. But please be sure to subscribe to the First Class Life Show. And don't forget to rate, leave a review, and join our private community so that we can continue to provide you with great personal development conversations to help you maximize your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. You deserve it.